Best way you got out of a bad date? I'll start. About a year ago my friend set me up on a blind date. The plan was to meet at a restaurant. This restaurant was different. Each group of people got their separate room. So I'm sitting at a restaurant and I see this rather good looking female heading my way. Okay, she was hot. And I was nervous. She sat down and the date began. I was so nervous that I kept repeating myself and the whole time I had food in my mouth. Because I was so nervous I began to sweat badly. As I noticed my grey shirt slowly turning dark grey black due to all the sweat, I coughed up my drink onto her shirt. At this point she stormed off to the bathroom. Right that second I came up with an idea. I called my friend, who set us up, and told him my plan. I also checked to see how long I had been on the date for. I saw the woman coming back. Annoyed she said him leaving without missing a beat. I stood up and said, wait, this isn't a real date, I'm an actor and this is MTV's disaster date. At that moment I died inside. She looked so shocked but started laughing. I quickly got her out of the restaurant. To make sure no one ruined my plan, I told her she had been on the date for 73 minutes and gave her $73. She asked if she was going to be on TV and I told her I needed her number and address to send her release papers to show her on television. After all was said and done I called her. Days later, came over with fake release papers, and bullshitted my way through 2 hours of conversation. At the end she told me I was cute and wanted to know if we wanted to get drinks. We dated for 2 months, while she waited for her TV appearance. TLDR bad date. Pretended to be on MTV disaster date. Gave her money. Got laid. Started walking backwards in the middle of a crosswalk at a busy intersection. We were on opposite sides and the signal turned to don't walk before she noticed what happened. I got out of a date I wasn't too keen on going on by accident. While out walking around town, I struck up a conversation with a guy over his pet. After a bit of a chat, numbers were exchanged and a date set. I regretted agreeing to the date almost right away, but thought, what the heck, it might turn out okay. So when the guy shows up at my apartment for the date, he's an even bigger goober than I remembered. Luckily, my neighbor's 3-year-old daughter, who looks like me, is still hanging around and comes to see who is at the door. The look on the guy's face was hilarious. He couldn't get out of there fast enough. Something all of a sudden needed his attention elsewhere. Does getting her arrested count? If so, I was 17 at the time and dated a 19-year-old girl I met in class. I didn't bother asking her out. She insisted. On our first date, we had the whole day together and as nice as it was, she was obviously crazy and her previous breakup with her BF of 2 years didn't fly with her. So most of our talks were about her babbling on about him and ultimately wanted someone to replace him. She apparently stalked him sometime after the breakup, then went on for me when she got the hint that he doesn't want her. I didn't like being mixed up in this so I wanted to bail. So 2 days after, we met again inside a Panera Bread Co that is near my college. I told her that we shouldn't see each other. She flipped out, yelled at me. I nearly peed my pants. Crap got real when she then took one of those metal knives and tried to stab me with it. Everyone gasped and 3 people came to my rescue as I ran far away. They pinned her down and the cops came shortly after. Found out later that she was schizophrenic. Her previous BF has a restraining order against her, and she hadn't been taking her meds. Anyway, she was real freaking intimidating. We were of similar height and I'm 6 feet 4 inches. I had a date with a female bus driver once. I wasn't really that into her, so I was hoping to make a graceful exit and said I am gonna go home and make myself a bacon sandwich. To which she replied I would totally blow you for a bacon sandwich. Needless to say, she got her bacon sandwich. Now that is reply you just can't turn down. From the moment the date begins you have 5 minutes to decide whether you are going to commit to an entire evening. And if you don't, it's no hard feelings, just good night. Thanks for playing. See you never. Hot. The lemon law. It's going to be a thing. An entire evening. Friends set me up with one of their co-workers. We agreed to meet at a local restaurant at 4 on a Saturday. I show up and see her sitting there. Go over formalities and I sit down. I thought I smelled a lot of booze, but was like whatevs. Then she starts wobbling back and forth. and can't form a coherent sentence. Just rambling and rambling. She goes to the bathroom and I ask the waiter if she's ordered anything to drink. He says she has a bottle of wine and 3 shots of tequila. At this point, I'm ready to leave because, well, it's not going to be fun. So say I that I forgot my wallet at home, need to go get it, and that we should just reschedule. She says she'll come with me. She stumbles out to the parking lot and takes out her key fob and starts clicking it. Except she doesn't have the auto unlock key fob. It was a normal key fob. While holding it above her head and clicking, she starts yelling hello to her car. She gets to her car she thinks is hers and tries to unlock it. After trying 3 times, she leans over, pukes on the hood of the car, falls over, and urinates on herself. So, here I am with a girl covered in puke and pee in a parking lot at 4:30 in the afternoon. I carry her into the restaurant, give the keys to the hostess, and call a cab for her. Next day, I get a text from her saying, "No crap. I had such a good time yesterday. We need to do it again sometime soon." My first date with this guy was dinner and a movie. I decided to meet him at the restaurant in case the date went badly. From the time dinner began to when the movie ended, we could not stop talking. Everything went so well. I hoped the evening would end with a kiss. He offered to drive me to my car since I was parked at the restaurant, so when he pulled up to my car, he put his arms around me and leaned in. But as soon as he opened his mouth, my tongue touched a thick layer of plaque on his teeth. My eyes snapped open and I tried to pull away, but he held me tighter and pushed me against the seat. He opened his mouth wide at a breath that smelled like murder. My head swam with nausea as I reached for the door handle when I noticed my car getting further away. I found the strength to throw him off of me and screamed, "Oh my god, my car's moving." It turns out he left his car in reverse, and as soon as he took his foot off the brake, the car went backwards. I quickly thanked him for dinner as he apologized for getting too fresh and booked it out of the parking lot. That's what you get for talking during a movie. A random OkCupid date back in '09 ended in about 20 minutes with my date telling me she just wasn't into me. Frankly, I wasn't having all that great of a time myself. We paid our own half of the check, gave each other a friendly goodbye, and went on with our lives. Never saw her again, but dang, I have nothing but respect for that. I ended a couple of dates by telling the guy I wasn't really feeling any chemistry and didn't want to waste his time. Obviously, it's not what a guy wants to hear, but they took it well, and we parted on respectful terms. I read this whole thread just to make sure I wasn't in it. Here are a few ways girls have gotten out of dates with me. 1. Wow, I freaking hate Mexicans and black people. I walked out the door. 2. You would not believe how hard I got fricked on my blind date last night. My pee is raw right now. I walked out the door. That's really it. Escape call. I get my roommates to call after a predetermined amount of time and start screaming about Aurora Borealis in the living room. If all is well with the date, I tell him to lay off the drugs and go take a nap. If it's not going so great, I'm really sorry, but my drug-addled roommate set fire to the couch. I have to go. My friend's mom tried to set me up with her co-worker's douchebag son. She wouldn't leave me alone about it, so I agreed to a date. I met the guy, politely ignored his layered popped collars, and smiled when he went on and on about how awesome he thinks he is. When he stopped talking for a minute, I asked, "Would you like to take Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior?" He said goodbye in the middle of dinner, and I never heard from him again. My friend's mom said it was a shame that things didn't work out, and that she could have sworn I was an atheist. Nice. That's smooth and polite without any repercussions and guaranteed to work. After meeting a guy online and chatting for a few weeks, we decided to get coffee and maybe a movie. When he showed up, he was nothing like what his picture was, but I went with it anyways because I know there are more than looks. Coffee wasn't going super, but we were right across from the cinema and he suggested a movie I wanted to see. We get into the cinema and then he casually asks me, "Oh hey, did you see that police chase on the news last week?" Me, I know, well, there was one and I was who the police were chasing. I immediately thought WTF and that I needed to leave. I politely excused myself to go to the washroom before the show started and booked it straight to my car. I had the excellent fortune to run into my ex and had to explain why I was leaving like a bat out of heck before this guy saw me. I texted him from the car saying that I got a phone call in the bathroom that my brother was in there and that I'd call him later, which I never did. A few months later, I saw him on the news after he'd been beaten up by a cop. I got up from the table, put down my napkin, and walked out the door. Not a frick was given. Backstory: this guy showed up and didn't look anything like his pictures. Part of me gave him credit for his Photoshop skills. The guy was also probably 10 years older than he said he was. Lying is just the absolute worst way to start things off for me. So I just left. We hadn't ordered anything. So no, I didn't stick him with a bill. This is why the lemon law really should be a thing. I usually meet dates for a lunch hour during work for the first in-person contact. If the date goes well, then I can always follow up since I'll probably have her contact information. If the date is going poorly, I always have the excuse that I have to go back to work. Makes it quick, painless, and easy. My roommate was dating a girl. We'll call her Sue. One night she brought over her best friend. We'll call her Abby. Abby and I flirted all night and I asked her out for dinner. I arrived at the restaurant first. Abby showed up about 5 minutes late, talking on her cell phone. I figured it must have been important, so I didn't say anything as she hugged me. We went inside and were seated, all while she was on the phone. It's about this point in time that I realize she isn't talking about important stuff. It sounds like she is just bullshitting with a friend. The waitress comes by, still on the phone. We order drinks and an appetizer, still on the phone. The drinks show up, still on the phone. At this point we are about 10 minutes into the date and she is still talking. It's so freaking rude that other tables around us are starting to whisper about it. I calmly stand up, reach into my pocket, pull out a $20 and place it on the table, turn around and walk out. Behind me I hear Abby say, "Wait, where are you going?" But I don't respond. I just keep on walking. On our first date, my now boyfriend told me that when he wanted to get out of a bad date, he'd check his phone and say, "Oh, hey, that was NASA. I gotta head back to Florida." He's originally from FL, for the space shuttle launch in the morning. Early flight, you know how it is. I'm not sure if he actually ever used that on a girl, but it's since become a joke between us. That probably wouldn't work too well now. An actor sweating profusely to that extent on command would be impressive. She must have thought you were one heck of an actor. As with so many things in life, the trick to getting out of a bad date is to not to get into one. Dinner or a movie are not good first dates, especially for someone you don't know. How about a drink or a cup of coffee? I was on a date where it was obvious to me within 15 seconds that we weren't right for each other. She was actually cute, but very boring. Since we were just meeting for a drink, we had one round and politely said goodnight. No trickery needed. Always set the phone alarm to go off around 30 minutes into a date. Walk off to take the call and come back with some family related emergency. Apologize and depart. 'Tis nothing fancy but very reliable. They can't say anything, but they know you're full of crap. My friend was on a bad date with a woman in NYC. She was just kind of annoying. Nothing truly terrible. But my friend was tired and wanted to go home. But she was persistent about keeping him out. So, while walking down the street, he sees a huge pile of dog crap. He says, "Excuse me for a moment," and purposefully and slowly steps in the dog crap. He closes his eyes and starts moaning slightly, really working his foot in the dog crap, muttering things like, "Oh yeah, that's good." The woman hailed the next cab she saw and never called him again. This is actually the best way you got laid despite being a social toddler. Best way I got out of a bad date was a real one. My cousin was having a kid, so I got to leave that hairy beast of a woman at the park. Hairy, beast and women should never be used in the same sentence. Never. Lomfeo. I just structure every first date the same way, in multiple parts with a few outs. Most aren't too exciting, but I had one really great out once. Turns out, I bring her first to this place where the bartender is my buddy. While we're hanging out and my bailout call hasn't come yet, so I send a quick text to my bartender buddy and tell him to come tell us that the place is closing for a private party and we have to leave. Then, in a stroke of great timing, as we're walking, my usual bailout call called, yelling like she's supposed to. I tell her to calm down and that I'll be there in 20 minutes. I duck out halfway to the next spot, head back to the first place, and drink free with my bartender buddy. Usually the bailout call works, and my buddy usually isn't working when I'm there, except this other time, where this chick just wouldn't shut up. She talked to me through the bailout call. She talked the whole night. I couldn't even get in a word edgewise to tell her I wanted to leave. As soon as I got a chance, I told her I had to leave, and hopped in a cab. The cab driver asked if my lady friend was coming. I said number, go, now. He LOL'd. If a date's starting to go bad, just get hammered drunk. Pros: 1. Hammered drunk. 2. Date sabotaged. 3. You might have fun with how bad it's going. 4. Fun story. 4. 5. Profit. Cons: 1. You might be taken advantage of. No martial arts. Unless you like getting taken advantage of, this would belong in pros then. 2. A really uphill battle if you try to date someone in their circle. It really depends on what kind of drunk you are, I'd imagine. 3. Cab fare or the embarrassment of having someone get you. Now, where's that satire symbol on my keyboard? Not sure why you'd consider it satire. That sounds like an almost legitimate strategy if the date is really going that badly. I told her she looked uncomfortable. She was a little taken aback, so I said very conversationally, tell you what, let's skip this date thing and just go have fun. Took the edge of the tension. We went out to a carnival and just enjoyed the evening. She thanked me. I think we maybe talked once or twice after them, but basically went our own paths. Turns out, taking charge in awkward situations is usually the best strategy. Making other people feel comfortable keeps things from getting out of hand. Calm, cool, collected folks. That's the winning strategy. I thanked her for her time, apologized that we weren't clicking and that I didn't care to drag it out, shook her hand and left. She was disappointed, but appreciated the honesty. Really, it's not all that difficult. Finally got a date with this chick that worked at a convenience market that I was totally into. Been pining over her for weeks, working up the courage to ask her out. I was young. Finally did, and she told me she had been wanting me to for a long time. So we go out and she turns out to be this super Bible thumper. Like she got the angry eyes several times when she was talking about God. She was that serious. I told her that I not only believed in extraterrestrial life, but that I was extraterrestrial life and that I killed God with my spaceship. She threw her drink in my face and left. I drank the rest of my drink with a wet face shirt but with a smile on my face. My parents told me they would call about 30 minutes in for my first date. If I wanted to come home then would pretend it was an emergency, if not I wouldn't pick up. Turned out half an hour didn't go by fast enough. I've never had to use this technique, but I always thought if a date was over, and I definitely never wanted to see the girl again, I'd put the best of Ray Stevens on the CD player in the car as I drove her home. No woman would want a second date with a man who openly enjoys guitars and or Ahab the Arab. On the contrary, she may choose to fling the passenger door open and take her chances tumbling out into the street at 50 miles per hour. I went on a bad date once, in which the guy was cheap, unfunny, and when we got to this club, he basically ordered me to dance with his friends. After we left the club, I had him drive me to a friend's apartment complex under the premise that I needed to check on her kids who were being babysat. I returned a few minutes later, told him that the babysitter was passed out drunk and I was staying. He got really pee and left, and I spent the rest of the night chilling with my childless friend. The best way I get out of bad dates is not to go on bad dates. In my personal experience, the best way to avoid them is to be unattractive in every sense of the word. Being ugly is a huge part of it, but I find my offbeat personality with no redeeming qualities really helps out. On the off chance that a member of the opposite sex takes slight interest in me, all I have to do is to talk to her and the crisis is averted. Had a blind date. She was pretty but not my type, very judgmental of others. I simply was not into her. So after we ordered dessert but before it arrived tableside, I leaned forward and said quietly, "Let's make a run for it." She looked quizzically at me. I clarified, dine and dash, and smirked a little. We did not do it. I just wanted to make her falsely judge me so she would not want to go out again. It worked. I don't know how to get out of a bad date necessarily, but I do know of a clever exit plan after a one night stand where you'd rather leave than stay over. 1. After the fun is over, excuse yourself to go to the bathroom. 2. When there, take a quick shower. Feel free to pee in the shower. 3. When you come back, the person you just slept with will tell you, "Oh, you took a shower," to which you reply, preferably with a tone of surprise, "Oh, weren't you going to?" 4. At this point the person you just slept with will begin to feel insecure and decide to take a shower. 5. When he/she is in the shower, grab your crap and peace out. This has worked 4 out of 5 times. There once was a man who sucked at dating. He spoke with mouthful of food. He was exceptionally rude, but his single life had grown frustrating, so he hatched a quick plan and delivered a scam to trick the lass into fornicating. He said, "Baby, I know I'm just wrong, but it's television that you're on, and it's your fame we've been creating." The poor girl fell for the trick, and Kilska gave her his dong, and that's what we call pathetic mating. There's my poem. That's it. Thanks for reading this crap. I don't care what you do, don't be hat-in. Proper formatting and you'd have a real audience. I avoided it altogether by saying I had to wash my dog. She asked if that was a euphemism for something. I told her it was an English Shepherd. I was hanging out with her friend a few weeks later and the girl I didn't want to see just happened to drop by. She proceeded to drink about half a handle of Quaver, then eat a bagel. I wanted to get out of there, so I told them we should go walk over to my friend's place. On the way she ended up flopping around on the sidewalk screaming something about how she thought I hated her. Then she managed to puke up the bagel she had along with some really putrid crap. Before that I wasn't aware Quavo could smell any worse than it did out of the bottle. I also learned that she ate the bagel in about 4 bites because entire quarters of the bagel came back up undigested. I then said I was going to go for a pack of smokes, and I didn't come back. We were all 16 years old. I couldn't even buy smokes. At least my dog was still clean from a few days before. Saying you have to go wash your English Shepherd sounds even more like a euphemism. I'm totally using that from now on. I had a date that was so bad, one of those fake profiles on OKC, that I faked an incoming phone call for Vera alone. "Oh, I'm sorry, I have to take this." Nodding on phone. "Okay, I'll be right there." Turning to the OKC troll. "My cat died. Gotta go. I've never owned a cat." I also told a super liberal over the top debate ME type atheist chick that I had to go to church. That was a good one. My first year of college, I worked in a moderately high-end home furnishing store at a mall and was one of the youngest ones there. Most of the other employees were middle-aged or retired women. I would always dress pretty fashionable and was friendly to everyone who came in. One day this guy in his 20s came in and said he was searching for a gift for his mom, and I was quick to offer suggestions. After about 20 minutes and him not deciding on anything, he told me that he was really just talking to me because he thought I was cute and wondered if he could have my phone number. Being the naive small town girl in the big city, I gave it to him and he started texting me later that night. He asked me to a movie a few days later and I told him I would just meet him there. I was cautious enough to not give out my address to many people. So we meet at the mall for a movie and head to the ticket counter where he lets me know that we have to go Dutch. I am not a gold digger, but was raised on the idea that if you are on a date, whoever asks, pays. This peed me off a bit, but I went with it because he was decently cute. The previews start to play, and the mother bites me on the shoulder. Hard. I look at him and ask him what the heck he's doing. He apologizes profusely for the next few minutes, as well as one can while in a movie theater. After 15 minutes he leans over and asks when he can kiss me. I then excused myself to go to the bathroom and hightailed it home. He texts me after 10 minutes to ask where I went. He proceeds to verbally harass me for the following week, and then I finally got rid of him by being a bee and telling him to frick off. Fast forward 4 months, a girl I used to work with at the home furnishing store found a listing on Craigslist. Missed connections from this dude with my name on it saying how beautiful he thought I was and how much he missed me. TLDR. Got bit at the movies by a guy who most likely would have stalked me had he known where I lived. Best one ever. 10 minutes in. After you've ordered drinks but before appetizers. Say okay, I'm only here to get laid. You've had plenty of time to decide if we're gonna frick. So let me know if I'm wasting my time or not. Either way the date's over in another 10 minutes, and you might get laid in the process. The thing that I like about this, as a girl, is that it makes me feel good about it not working out. Because I get to believe that you are an butthole instead of worrying that there is something wrong with me. Upvoted. The last guy I dated, dare I say for a little while, invited me to a wedding. At the start of the date he picked up a 10p from the taxi floor and slid it into his pocket discreetly. Let me pay for the taxi saying he had no cash yet. Bought one drink through the night then bummed off everyone else. Saw the packet of cigs on the dance floor. Picked them up. Saw it was half full and kept them. Let his brother buy us drinks, never offered one back. Tried to bum a return taxi with his friends and I got the impression they were used to this cause everyone had excuse why they couldn't share at the ready. Then to finish it off nicely he got the taxi home to stop at MC Donald's at the end. Pulled cash out his pocket, we hadn't been to a machine, and proceeded to get the change for his food exact so we didn't mix up who owed what for what we each ordered. I got out of it by staying sober so could make fast tracks the minute we got back to my car. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.